Good evening, all. Welcome to the September 19th, 2022 meeting of the Newcastle Environmental Review Board. Here with us tonight in person, David Horowitz, Ted Holmes, Dennis Corelli, Environmental Coordinator. Missing is Ivan Alter, who's under the weather tonight. But with the three of us here, we have a legal quorum, so we should get started. First item of business is approval of the minutes from the July 18th, 2022 meeting. I had some notes on it. David, did you or Ted, either of you have anything on the minutes?
No, I do not.
No. Dennis, as I said, I've got a couple of notes on the minutes from July.
Okay.
So I'll read them into the record here, but then I'll just give them to you and you can have them.
Okay.
Have them changed. We had made clear that Ivan Alter had recused himself from consideration of the Whippoorwill Lake Road item. But there's a stray reference in the wine reb discussion to Mr. Alter's recusing himself from commenting on the subject application. And I believe that should make its way somewhere up into the discussion of the Whippoorwill Lake project.
Okay.
There was something a little bit confusing to me on the top of page 3. Again, in the discussion of the wine reb project, I think it should be amended to say that it's usual to have the basis of at least an initial proposed plan available for discussion at a meeting instead of what it did say.
Okay.
And then there was a typo. And then in the discussion down at the bottom of page 3 regarding the proposed changes to the tree ordinance that the Conservation Board has been drafting, there's just a clarification that there was a reference to they and that they meant the Conservation Board drafters.
Okay.
Okay.
I will incorporate this. That's good. Thank you.
Good. So with those changes, do we have a motion to approve the July minutes?
Motion to approve the July minutes.
And I will second that motion.
Good. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Okay. We have a returning application on the wine red property at 35 Brandon Drive. Who's going to present? Jerry?
Yes,
Dennis?
I'm here. Good evening, members of the ERB and Mr. Chairman. If it's okay, I'll share my screen and put the plan up.
Sure.
So we discussed this after our site and our discussion in July. And since that time, we've done a couple of things. We've gone through the plan and we've fleshed out the planting plan. We've developed the erosion control plan. We've added the Phragmites removal from the wetland area. And we've also retained a structural engineer who has designed the retaining walls, and that building permit application has been filed with the building department. So by way of background, the board will recall that this project this project is on the corner of Cynthia, the new subdivision road that goes up to the Brandywine subdivision and Brandon Drive. And what happened was, as a result of the subdivision, the clearing and whatnot took place. And while I think the original design plans called for some kind of screening or tree plantings or something along Cynthia Drive to provide some privacy to the wine reps, who this is their rear yard here, and that didn't happen. That combined with the linking up of open spaces in town, and there's now a little hub where you can park your car. And there's just a bunch more traffic on here, and the wine rebs enjoy their backyard, but they felt like they lost their privacy. And we were retained to say, what can we do to help them get that back? So we talked to town staff, and we came up with this plan. So essentially, this is their back deck area, and this is their driveway area, and this is Cynthia Court. And what happened was, now there's this direct sight line between there. So the idea here is what we're going to do is we're going to take this existing sloping grade, and there's going to be we're going to create a like a parking court driveway area. There's going to be like a wall. It's about 3.5 feet here, and it goes to about 6 feet in this corner. And what that does, it kind of, gets that grade up. And then we're going to do a boulder wall up in this area here. That's going to be about 3 or 4 feet. And the idea is to get the grade up so then we can come in and we can put in 10 to 12 and 14-foot evergreen trees. And then on this shelf in here, what we would do is we would plant that with evergreen shrubs and, some native material in here. So the idea is when the owners look over, they'll see the wall, they'll see this evergreen screening in here. They really won't see their boulder wall, but they'll see that, they'll see this evergreen screening. And the idea of the evergreen screening is to regain their privacy. So that's been fleshed out. We have a planting plan for that. And then also you'll recall that the owners decided to improve. Right now they have a very awkward way to get up on their deck. So that's going to be closed off. They're going to regain this deck space here. There's going to be a break in this wall and then some stepping stones. And there's going to be a lower patio in this area. You'll recall previously there was a fire pit in this area. That's been eliminated from the plan. And so there's just going to be a small patio here that'll step up. And so you'll come in and, you'll step up a couple of steps, go to a landing, go down a couple of steps to get to the patio, and go up a couple of steps to get to the to get to the deck. So we showed an erosion control plan. There'll be silt fences down slope of all the work areas. We show the grading and clearing limit line in red. And this was the area where that Phragmites has taken over. So there's various methodologies to take out Phragmites. The one that we prefer, and this is the one the board may remember that we reviewed and the board endorsed over on the Rabinowitz property on Gary Drive a couple of years ago, where we come in at about this time of year, actually, and cut down all the Phragmites and drag it out and put it in a dumpster in the driveway, and it just gets taken away. And then the Phragmites is allowed to sprout back up. And when it gets to about knee height, they'll hire a licensed applicator to come in with rodeo. It's a form of Roundup, but it's better suited to wet and environments. We'll wait for a dry day. They'll go out there and they'll spray it. And then that process will be repeated as necessary until they get control of the Phragmites and get the Phragmites out of there. So once that's all done and once the wall is built, the walls are built, we have the boulder wall, we have the other wall, then we've developed a planting plan / mitigation plan. Again, here's our wetland line in here. Here's our 100-foot buffer line in here. And so these are the evergreen plantings that'll happen up higher on the slope to block the views. This is the shrub layer, a lot of evergreen in here. We're taking out 3 large double file viburnums in this area, and we're going to transplant them around the property. And then what we'll be doing is we'll just be putting in some high hydrangea in this area, some inkberry, and kind of frame this area here. And then when we get to the edge of the lawn and going down toward where the wetland is, we've got groupings of perennials and some shrubs and some small trees like dogwood. And when we get out to where the frag was, what we'll do there is we will go in there because it's pretty open, and we're going to try to close this forest edge back down so it comes across here. So we have 3 red maples we'll be putting in, and then we have some smaller shad blow trees in this area to kind of layer it. And then we'll be doing some shrubs like buttonbush and elderberry, groupings of shrubs. And then we have large swatches of Joe Pye weed and New York ironweed to colonize the area. And plus we'll get a lot of nice color out of that in summertime, and just some shrubs, around the edge. So it looks like, that's where we are. I think that the last time we met with the board wanted to see some more information on the planting and the mitigation and the erosion control. And they also directed us to file with the building department, which, that's been done. So we're back now and we're hoping that we can move this thing along to a conditional approval so the owners can schedule the work.
Great. Thanks, Jerry. Dennis,
Yes.
what do you think?
Only a recommendation, if you're gonna cut frag, this season, I wouldn't be averse to getting a first application. I know sometimes that translocation process, when they look to, bring their nutrients back to the roots in the fall, you could have them bring some of the poison with them. And then, in the spring, sometimes that represents almost like the second application for what you didn't get, So that's just a recommendation. The wine reps if they have hired someone who does a different method or wants to pursue something differently, that's fine. But I just remember that was what we would do for wetland restoration. We would try to get a first zap, August into September. That was, usually the window. The only other comment I was going to make, again, these were observational, since I like walking through wetlands, and obviously at the wine rebs, it was helpful because I accidentally stepped on one of the landmines when I was playing with her dog that was back there, and going through the wetlands helped me remove all of that landmine remnant, that was on my boot. But I had taken notes just for your benefit.
Just wondering.
Populations of, yes. Wetlands get rid of dog poop, I'm sure. Let's leave it at that. You got some good populations in there. It looks like a spice bush, and I think viburnum dentatum. So, I don't think you're not targeting them, obviously, for removal. And if you want to consider those as potential substitutes, should some of the things you're specking out here not be available at the time of planting, I just, again, mentioned those for your benefit. And some of the herb layer, I saw good stuff in, skunk cabbage, a lot of jewelweed, white snake root. So, hopefully if that, regenerates as part of your plan, that's nothing that I'm averse to. In fact, I was kind of happy to actually see some of that growing amongst the Phragmites, because, what's nice is it's definitely not only an isolated population, but it's not as dense as some of the other ones I've seen. So I think you have, good opportunity for potential success here. So I had no issues.
So we're all in favor of keeping whatever natives that we can out there, and we'll certainly be doing that when when the work's about to get done. We'll be going out there and flagging for the contractors. So anything we see that's native and valuable, we'll certainly put a flag on it so he stays away from it.
That works. Cool. Thank you.
All right, other questions, comments from the board members? Ted, David? Yeah, I think we had taken a pretty careful look at everything but the specifics of the planning plan and had satisfied ourselves that the overall plan was a good one. And so I think with this added detail, Dennis's sign off on it, I think we should probably be good to go as well. So with that being said, I'll entertain a motion to issue the permit on this per the revised application and planning plan that we just reviewed.
So motion to approve the revised plan.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're approved.
Thank you so much. Have a
Thanks,
nice.
Jerry.
Bye.
We appreciate the additional effort.
No, thank you for your patience with me. Thank you.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.
Take care.
I have a test. Is they gonna start it this fall or?
I think
If
we want-
if they want to clear and spray, I would be fine with that, because it really is, then you're getting delayed months just to apply herbicide.
Right.
And this is the recommended time, and even if they didn't have a project associated with it, and somebody said to me, we want to plant natives and get rid of frag, would you approve this I'd say yes, now's the time to get rid of it.
Just even to get the wall in place, planned in November.
Yeah,
Still good.
yeah, some of the evergreens especially, you can go like up until the 15th of November, shouldn't be an issue.
And the construction, that can be done through what, December?
As long as it's not 20 degrees.
Right.
That's concrete.
I think the owners would like to get going as soon as they possibly can, so I'm gonna discuss it with them tomorrow, but I'd like to get that frag out of there ASAP, and if we can get some of that stuff to regenerate in the next month or so, we might get our first application in. I think that's the best case scenario.
Right, makes sense. Good luck.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks, Chair. Next on the agenda, 34 Morton Place.
Good evening. Mr. Chairman, I'm Alan Pilch.
Alan, how are you?
Good, how are you doing?
Good.
All
You're going to be
members of the-
presenting on this tonight?
Pardon me?
You're going to be presenting on this tonight?
Yes, and with me also is the architect, Tim Lenner.
Good evening, board.
Hello. Good evening.
If you'd like, I could share my screen just to present this. You'll let me know if you presume you can see that?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. This is a survey of the property. Good evening, everyone. I'll just say this application is for a couple of things. One is in addition to the, I'll show this on the plan, but in addition to the existing house on this property and removal of a brick patio, that's essentially what this involves. Anyways, the property, as you can see, is 26,115 square feet. On the south side of Morton Place, the library is right here, right across it's on the Westerland property line. There's actually residential properties on all other sides. It's an interesting area. I never ventured that way, but there it is. There's also a 36-inch pipe which conveys a water course, as you know, the one that flows through the library property, but this is the one that flows through Steve Thomas's backyard. And the wetlands were flagged by Mary Janig, and they were survey located by Evan Fogel. And that's the survey we're looking at here. And so and I'll just point out too that the 100-foot wetland buffer runs through at this location here. And I'll just go to the site plan. And so what is being proposed is a new second, a screen porch with a second floor above at the back of the house. This is the driveway, the garage, and the existing house. And the removal of that, you can see on this, there is a brick patio here. And essentially the removal of the brick patio and construction of a wood deck here. And then the other thing that's being proposed is a flagstone walkway to connect from the driveway, which is here, to the addition and also into the house. There is actually an existing brick walkway here, but that'll be removed and replaced with a flagstone walkway. And so when we reviewed this, and this also just shows some of the erosion controls that are being proposed. And so we, with the proposed addition and the wood deck, we calculated an impact to the existing condition impervious surfaces in the wetland buffer and calculated 2,649 square feet. And with the modifications to the plan, that would increase with the addition and the construction of the deck over a brick patio. It would increase to 2,922 square feet for a total increase of 273 square feet in the buffer. And what is being proposed as mitigation, and I could show you a picture of this if you'd like, but the way the runoff flows on this property, it all essentially flows behind the garage and out this way to the water course, which flows from east to west. So this is like the low point of the property for drainage, both from the driveway and from the house. There's kind of like a little rise in the rear yard. And, you know, I'll say near, very slight rise, but it's enough so that the drainage goes this way, kind of behind the garage and through the yard, and it's all lawn back there. And so the proposal is to convert about a 400 square foot area, I think you said 410 square foot area, which is currently lawn, to a planting bed and add in some native plant materials. And as you can see, what we're proposing up here, you know, some leucothries and maple leaf viburnum, clethra, you know, plants, Ilex verticillata, winterberry, plants which are well, you know, I'll say adapted to the moist conditions which exist back here, but not really wet, but that's what's being proposed. And so that's essentially the plan that we had developed. We also looked at the total amount of increase in impervious surfaces as well, and saw that from the existing condition to the future condition, we calculate an increase of 342 square feet of new impervious surfaces, which would put us below the 1,000 square foot threshold. I'll just say, Tim, is there anything else you'd like to add to that?
Just that the foundation of the screen porch second floor addition is going to be built out of individual brick piers, like 2 foot by 2 foot in size, to avoid digging out any full depth foundations and minimize impact, I think, for the land and certainly any issues that could possibly occur in a new foundation there anyway. So,
Right.
And the fact that we're removing that patio and the deck will have gaps in it to allow water to pass through where it currently can't. So kind of
Right.
swapping out the patio for the addition, in my view, but.
Right. And typically what we do is put a little stone or something underneath it so it's not avoidable.
Correct.
And so I can unshare if you like, or I can just continue sharing. You comment, Mr. Chairman, members of the ERB.
No, that's fine. If you could leave it up, that would be,
Sure.
that would be good.
Okay. Great.
So Alan, what's the height of the new deck? Is that going to be basically at grade, or?
It's going to be slightly above grade by about 1.5 feet, because right now there's a few steps down from that 1-story area you see there adjacent to the deck. You come out a sliding door down, I think, 3 steps onto the patio that's on the ground, but we're going to have you coming out flush from that door, so it will leave some room. I have my plans up too, if you want to take a look at it and see what the elevations are going to look like.
Sure.
And I will unshare.
Okay.
So no crawl space or foundation under the second floor.
Doesn't sound like it.
There's a screen porch.
Screen, no,
Yeah, I can show you also.
I'll ask.
This is the 1-story area where you currently come, then that's from Glenside Place. But you come down those few steps onto the current patio, which is right on grade. The grade's essentially flat around this section of the property. So the floor joists will be up in here, and there's just a screening to keep critters out from underneath, but it's basically just earth and gravel underneath this deck.
If you like, I can show you a picture of what it looks like back there as well. You can see.
I've got that too, Al. So here's where you see the foundation piers supporting the structure. And again, it would just be left as minimal of digging as possible. So here's the view. It was a little cold when I was there taking these, but so you can see this is that little rise Alan was talking about over here. It's essentially flat. The water runs off towards the back of the garage over there. And this little corner wall is what defines where that patio currently is. And you can see the steps coming down from the dining area right now. So all of this is proposed to be removed.
Yeah, I could, if you unshare, I could just show you a picture too that I have. For a moment. You can also see it here. This is where the patio will be removed. This is the wall that's here. You can see it's up like 3 steps. So it's like 1.5 feet up. And that's where the deck's supposed to go.
All right, could you take us through the elevations on the new structure?
The architecture?
Yeah, just put it up again so that we can see what it's going to look like.
FYI, we got zoning and ARB approval already, so they kind of liked it. So here's the view from the road again. All of this is existing house here. So the screen porch is going to be made up mostly of screen doors with panels that you can swap out when it's cold. And up above, we've got a bedroom and a bathroom over here. We're remodeling some bathroom laundry space over there. And this is the back part that faces the wetland, so to speak. Everything here is basically existing. We're dressing up the rear porch. These are the steps down from the existing rear porch that Alan mentioned before. And this is what was be directed on that walkway over to the driveway, which is over here. So we've treated the house, the addition to specifically look a little bit different from the existing house, which is wood shingles. And this is going to be a board and batten material here. We've kept the eave lines a little bit low and popped up a dormer to kind of minimize the massing of this thing.
Question for you, the flagstone from the existing, it kind of fades out in the drawings we have. Are you saying that's going to extend down to the driveway?
So here, my version of Alan's site plan. So yeah, it's not that far once you're, so right now there's a door that comes into the house underneath this porch right here. And I believe the stairs just go directly out onto the driveway. It's kind of a weird concrete structure that's not a very good use, flow of space for sure. So what we did is we relocated the steps down to here. And so we can build out this area of the porch and have a place to sit and watch their son play basketball over here. So this little area isn't proposed to be new, where currently there's that path that Alan showed on the existing survey that goes roughly from here straight down to the existing patio.
Right, there's a brick walkway
Yes.
that goes from the driveway. So it's essentially being removed by, it'll be removed, and a portion of that brick walkway will have the addition, and the rest will be replaced with the flagstone.
Got it.
And how are they set?
Flagstone is typically set on 4 to 6 inches of sand typically.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, there's 2 ways to do it. It could be done in sand or concrete. We all know the sand is going to move a little bit more than the concrete will, but I don't think we're opposed since all of their existing walks are set in sand. We can propose doing the same thing.
What's the existing brick?
What is it?
Is it set?
I believe it's set. No, I don't think it's set in concrete. No. I think it's
I
just
don't
set
think so either.
in sand and stone dust.
So how does that new, are you saying that in terms of coverage or impervious surfaces, that the walks are kind of a wash or what?
I would
I was gonna say, I counted them, the walkway is completely impervious.
Okay.
Just to be conservative.
Yep.
I think there's probably more existing walkway than we're proposing here too, right, Alan? I don't know if in your little chart you had the breakdown of both, but I think it's either a wash or we're less.
Yeah, well, the existing walk, I said, rear walk, well, I had both patio and walk calculated together when I did
Oh,
the calculation, so I didn't really split them up. But I had 102 square feet for the walkway, the new walkway, to the rear of the house and to the driveway.
And then what are you doing with the leaders and the roof drainage? Where's that going?
Right now, it just goes into, I mean, I walked around there plenty. So right now, you see it go into the ground. That's where they go. So I think the one in the front left, if you're looking from the street, goes actually onto the ground surface. That's my recollection. But I think the other ones go into the ground. So they probably either go into dry wells or perhaps are discharged into the water course. I didn't see any, I walked along that water course. It's pretty dense, but I walked along it looking for any drain pipes or anything. I really didn't see any when I was walking around.
Should that be considered in the?
But we do have just a very small increase in impervious surfaces.
Right, so I know we had discussed this last
Yes.
week, so the one thing that I discovered while I was out there, because I was just a little confused, sometimes my approach is just to look at an aerial before I actually go out there, and Alan and I discussed, so that driveway has been added to since 2021. It used to just kind of go straight up and down. So I mentioned to Alan, I said, we should probably wrap that added impervious to the driveway as part of this application and as part of consideration for the mitigation plan. So I don't know if that was part of your discussion with respect to the added square footage of impervious, but that's a relatively recent project and obviously was formerly turf. So I think that needs to be incorporated as part of what you're proposing for mitigation. And my other comment was, I know they're set obviously adjacent to house and in planting beds, but there's some nice specimen shrubs of viburnums and ilex that are obviously going to be lost. And then I had some concern about some of those trees close by. I don't see them lasting once the construction's completed. Maybe they will, and that would be fine. So I was, over in the mitigation area, and I think that's a great location for it. And I believe that tree that's shown is 10 inches there. I believe that was a Norway maple, not in the best of shape, and in my opinion. If it was me looking to put in those plantings, I would consider removing that tree, just so that it doesn't damage what I wanted to plant. And on top of that, if we were going to add to the mitigation for the driveway and or try to account for some of the shrubs that were going to be lost, I think there is opportunity to, almost push out further and just make the area larger to sort of account for all of that I just kind of mentioned.
You're referring to the 10-inch maple, which is there kind of like to the south, if you will, of the planting area.
Right.
Shown. Correct.
I'm pretty sure that if it's the same tree that I recall being in that general area, it's a Norway maple, and it wasn't in great shape, and it's a non-native invasive. So I'm like, I think there's, again, when I saw the driveway and realized what was going on, I'm like, there's potential for expansion here to sort of account for that, loss of turf cover, and definitely get a, value add being so close to the brook to just, sort of expand what you've designed there.
Sure. I did calculate that the modification of the driveway was about 408 square feet. Remember, that's about what we talked about, which means the total change of impervious surfaces with this project would be about 750, which is still the 1,000 square foot threshold.
Right.
But certainly the mitigation area could be expanded.
Right, that's where I was, yes, to your point,
Correct.
the stormwater, engineering and agreed, that's by the wayside, just going from the, wetlands mitigation perspective.
Right. That's fine. And I suppose with some of the shrubs that are close to the house, we could look at places perhaps to relocate them.
You could, yeah, you could give it a shot. I
Right.
would still account for the mitigation, because just, it seems like based on their size, it's possible.
gonna be-
It could
it's
be
gonna be
more
a-
of a hit or miss. They're not young.
It's a challenge. Agreed. They're probably going to be gone. I would agree. But we can certainly expand that mitigation area so we can, increase it by about 300 square feet or so.
That ice cream place or something.
So there's not really a swamp going on. Because the patio is being replaced by the deck. So was there any consideration given to going up in the area of the house that's only one story, as opposed to creating new footprint in the buffer?
Doesn't really give the clients the kind of space they need, and that's a cathedral ceiling in that one-story space. It's actually more or less a glass roof.
Well,
And one of the reasons why they asked for the screen porch is because of the buggy situation, because of the wetlands. They really can't use that patio in the peak times when you want to be out there, because the mosquitoes just make it intolerable. So they did ask for that space, and trying to combine that space with the spaces they need on the second floor, where the bedrooms are located compared to where the bathrooms are located. The flow of the space worked the best with where we placed it, and removing the patio and, basically getting that back to being a deck with the open slots to at least make that part be more pervious.
right. No, I mean, the issue isn't the screen porch. The issue is the fact, is that there's new footprint into the buffer.
Yeah, they wouldn't be able to get this extra bedroom up there, because right now there's bathrooms separating the spaces of where the current second floor hallway is. There'd be essentially no way to get to this bedroom because it's blocked off with the only hall bathroom that's up there. So, and on the other side of that one story is the main bedroom. So there's nowhere to put another space to get that room where it's accessible.
And there's no way to do it over on the side, the portion of the existing house that's outside of the buffer? Or you don't have setbacks clearance there or what?
I got a variance to do the deck already. And then they would have to need another variance, but the spaces as they're currently set up on that second floor, hold on a minute, I'm gonna bring it up. Show it to you.
When was this house built?
When? That was probably is, I could look that up,
Pre-ordinance though, right?
probably, I would say in this section of town, yeah. I guess this could be considered tertiary brook. I don't know if it's tertiary brook proper, but it certainly is the contiguousness that
But
goes to.
this is a different brook than the one that comes down from the temple, right? The Greeley property, that's over here, that's on the other side?
I don't believe so. I believe this is the one that feeds and goes around the library and then to the stormwater basin that they just dredged
I
out
don't
the
think
school
so. No,
district.
because I think-
and
So
Oh, it's over, no, that's over by Bell, that's between Bell and the church. Right, Ted?
I don't know.
There's that path that comes downhill from the temple
Mhm.
to the, you know, and it goes right by the
There's
main part of the brook that comes
Yes,
down.
yes,
Yeah, so
that's
that's,
different.
yeah, that is,
Oh,
that's
okay.
over, that's on the, this is, the church is here, I guess.
Right,
And that's on the other side of the church,
Mhm.
between the church and
Yes.
Bell.
okay.
Right.
Then I'm in, okay. And right, this feeds it. I'll go back to my original
So this
statement.
does feed it from another side.
Yes, yes.
I gotcha.
I discharging from that, like
This
slightly
goes- this-
descending basin that you see that's in front of the library.
Right.
Yeah, okay,
And that in turn then goes across the street into Tertiary.
right, right.
So to go back to the floor plans, this is the area that's the one story, and all those dotted lines represent glass panels that are up in that roof there. And you can see the layout of family room, living room, dining room, kitchen. So this space out the back is where we would be accessing the screen porch from, this little mudroom bump out into the porch. But on the second floor is where it's really far more problematic, because right here, this is the area where there's currently a laundry room and a bathroom that we're reorganizing a bit. So to build a bedroom over here, there'd be really no way to get to it because these spaces are blocking it from the rest of the hallway. And there's also a change in stairway here. You come up to a landing that's about 3 or 4 steps down from the second floor. So you actually have to go up more steps to get into this bedroom, which was added back in the 90s sometime. And this is the main access for the children's kind of part of the bedroom of the second floor. And like I said, this space here is just a blockade for everybody else to use these rooms. And someone is still, even if you were going to give up the cathedral ceiling above here.
The back walls. There's the, like,
There's the bedroom. There's a-
So that's the problem.
the bedroom.
Can you just slide up screen, please? Hey, thanks.
Right?
Yep, perfect. We came out that way.
No, if you see where it says roof below?
Right.
If you built it there, then
So you'd be talking about building a pretty major addition to the front of the house on the second floor where no space is needed in that part of the first floor. And I also wouldn't put a screen porch out in the front of this house.
I'm talking
So
about-
this is that area where you come in an entryway and there's a little bit of a roofed area here. I'll show you the front.
I'm talking about going up here.
So this
That's
is,
one story. Where it says roof below, put the bedroom there.
that's only about 4 feet wide. You can see on the picture what it looks like.
No, see where it's in the glass? Yeah. What happens if you take out the glass?
Go
Just-
back to this.
Yeah.
Can't get to it. You can't get to it from the plan.
It would also give me a pretty challenging roof line, to build above this section, because this is what it looks like currently. There's that sloped roof, with all the glass in it. It would be creating a problematic roof area for me to try and build above this. And this space here, this glass room was added on, again, back in the 90s or something. And it's built on little piers that probably could not support a second floor. The basement area ends here under the kitchen. This here was an addition at some point. You can see underneath, this is actually open space right now. There's no foundation. It's just a couple of sonotubes holding up that, which certainly could not support a second floor.
That's a more persuasive answer to me.
Yeah, makes sense. Again, if that's all currently permitted, and existing CFOs and all that nonsense, I guess it must be.
I guess we would have to, I'd have to verify that, but
Yeah, this was all done legally. This is all, the building department has on their record search, all of this is legal. I actually got the plans from them.
Got it. Okay. Then my last question would be just, what are you doing with the roof leaders and drainage off the building? What are you dropping that into?
Alan, it wouldn't be
On the
wise
new structure.
to put Coltex or anything in here because of the water table, correct?
Yeah, typically you wouldn't want to try to do that. We could, usually you put in some type of rain garden, perhaps, if you have even some, I'll call it unsaturated soil below it. But there's very little grade across this property, and that's what makes it challenging. The rear yard is virtually level. The grade is so slight going across it. And I think by some of the additional plantings that will also, some of the additional plantings in that mitigation area, by expanding it as well. We're talking about removing lawn that contribute nutrients to the water course, and it will help. There's certainly biological uptake which would occur there as well. So there is an advantage to it. It's also probably let's say it blocks some of the runoff from the driveway, which is probably a lot more. I'll say has the potential to be more contaminated than runoff from a roof.
Should that be picked up too as part of the conversation?
the driveway,
Yeah.
which was added.
Yeah.
To me, the single and complete project, some of it has already been completed. So, yeah, that's how I'm looking at it. That's how I'm trying to address the mitigation at least. So to be consistent, I don't disagree with you.
No, just asking with the driveway and, the salts off the car and whatever, should you think about picking up that water too someplace and creating I don't want to call it a dry well, but a place for it to settle before it goes through the lawn into the stream?
I take a look at doing some type of perhaps I'll use the term rain garden in adjacent to the mitigation planting area, because that's when you look at it topographically, that's kind of like the low point before it heads out into the water course. So perhaps we can look at it in that, I guess that's the southwest corner of the property where it's currently a lawn area. It's kind of like, I have a,
Or integrated into the planting plan at that corner?
Right.
maybe I could
I
just.
don't know the pitching of the driveway, but could you just include that in there, even if it's just a,
Right, I mean, it would almost
distilling.
serve it as a filter,
Yeah.
almost prior to getting to, and then prior to getting to, so, yeah, that's reasonable.
Like, this is, the garage, the driveway. This is the area where the mitigation was proposed. That's the Norway maple that you're referring to before. Dennis?
Yes,
Right, so perhaps what we could do is build some type of, I mean, the driveway essentially just runs off into the lawn area. And sort of drains down this way topographically. So maybe we could do is build some type of, I'll call it planted area, additional planted area, sort of somewhat like a rain garden in this location adjacent to the mitigation plantings to sort of be able to provide some form of treatment. Because all the runoff, when you saw the picture that Tim had shown earlier, when you see that, you can see where the meltwater was going kind of like, you kind of see where it had been located in the rear yard, and all the runoff from the rear goes behind the garage and comes out this way, and the driveway itself comes down this way. So this will be the logical place to do that sort of stormwater mitigation, in this area here.
Makes sense. Okay.
We're really just talking some type of, these are rain garden, not much else. I think chambers would be a little bit difficult just looking at the grades. Considering that the water course there is like 316 and the yard is a 318. I have to assume that if the water course elevation is 316 and the yard is 318, I'm assuming that the water table is probably somewhere around 317. And so, at least we can have some removal of lawn and some more areas of biological uptake, maybe with a small amount of ponding there, temporary ponding. But I don't think we're going to have enough to put in any type of chamber or dry well, because for sure there will not be almost any distance of unsaturated soil underneath it.
Makes sense.
Okay, Dennis, was there anything else on the mitigation side? In terms of either volume or the type of plantings that was suggested?
no, I was fine, like a lot of this is, we're trying to, we're losing areas that are lawn, losing areas that are planting bed, and I like, closer to the waterway and, getting a little more robust than just having lawn to the waterway. So I thought it was a good location and a good concept, just obviously have to add to it for just some of the reasons I discussed.
Sure.
All right, so between now and maybe next meeting, you want to work with Alan?
Sure.
And
That'd be great. Thank you.
see what you can come up with, and that should work. All right,
Great.
good.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Thanks, Jen.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Next on the agenda is Robbins, 1 Allison Lane.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
I'm Matt Jones. I'm representing Danny Robbins, and we also have Jeffrey Garian if there's any engineering questions. But so what we have here is like a nice landscape renovation around the Robbins' home.
Can you speak up a little bit? I'm sorry, having a little difficulty hearing you.
Okay.
Somewhat.
I'll get closer. So what we have here is a landscape renovation, and there's a wetlands in the woodland, and the 100-foot wetland buffer cuts across the deep end of the pool. I'll share my screen. So some of the things that we're trying to do outside of the wetland are just some backyard patio redesigns, because it's a bit of an awkward shape currently. But and also there's only patio on the shallow end of the pool. I can bring up a picture. So as part of this project, we want to, off the front right corner of the house, add a walkway that'll take you through a little.
You're breaking up. You're freezing.
It's frozen.
So I take it this is the before drawing. And this is the after drawing.
Those are the site plan.
Yeah, this is the existing condition. And this is
Right.
and where does the 100-foot cuts through the house?
Cut through right through the middle of the pool, looks like.
Through the middle of the pool.
You see it from here?
Yep.
Actually, it doesn't touch the house. Oh, no,
No.
yeah, that's right, it makes a right turn here.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, how are you? This is Danny Robbins, the homeowner. So I just am trying to get Matt back on, but I'm obviously not the expert, and I probably can't speak with much sophistication around all the engineering and planning, but if there's any questions I can answer. Oh, here he is. Okay. Matt, hopefully you're not freezing anymore, but you can try again.
All right, sorry about that. I'm trying here. I don't know what's going on.
It's gas, okay.
Can anyone hear me or see my screen?
Yes.
Both.
Okay. It does say my internet connection's unstable for some reason. Jeff, can you, if I send you this, can you
You froze again. Yeah.
share the screen and maybe I can just talk?
We hear you, so keep going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so starting at the front right corner of the house, we want to add a pathway that'll lead you back to part of that is inside the 100-foot wetland buffer. There's also a pavilion that's an open air pavilion proposed that's at the same height as the pool. So as far as existing topography, the pool is around the 405-foot contour. And then once you get right past the pool, it slopes down 10 feet below the pool is the pool equipment. The grade continues to slope down, and then you enter into the woodlands where the wetlands are. So after talking with Dennis and trying to find ways to mitigate, we proposed pavilion. And then next to it, there's a mitigation planting that consists of viburnum, clethra, serviceberry, magnolia, some cinnamon fern. That is all mitigation for an area where the some wood chips and debris were left from some tree removals. So that would get cleared, and then that area would be replanted with plant species that do well in this kind of shady, wet environment. If you want to look at the engineer's plan, you can kind of see on the left-hand side, that's the existing conditions plan. It shows the existing patio and the pool that are true. The patio is going to remain, I mean, you remove the pools to remain. And then we're going to replant the slopes.
Yeah, this isn't working. This isn't working.
And you, I'm going to try to go back.
Looks like they're in that mode of understanding that.
Hey, Dennis, just to give myself some orientation. This,
You know,
I'm just,
no, I
so,
know where you're going to.
okay.
Because I went through it.
This is a hardscape and planting plan. Does this have to be re-leveled?
Yeah, I noted that as well. There's obviously some regrading, I guess, that's being proposed. This is all slope.
Okay, I'm on by phone now. Is this better?
Yes.
Significantly.
Okay, so I won't be able to see the plan, but I know it well enough. So you can see on the landscape plan, the wetland lines cuts through the deep end of the pool, and it also cuts through the front right corner of the house. So the improvements that are being proposed in the wetland buffer are a walkway along the right side of the house that'll lead you from the front yard to the pool, because on the left side of the house, there's a large retaining wall, and it gets really tight to the property line, and the property slopes from the left to the right. So the pathway brings you around the right-hand side. We're creating a flat lawn area in between the house and the new walkway. The walkway will lead you to a small open-air pavilion that essentially cantilevers over the slope. Behind that is the existing pool equipment that's to remain. And just beyond the pool, we also want to build a small retaining wall that doesn't go above 4 feet in order to expand some lawn area back there, as this backyard had really limited flat lawn. So part of the design was to gain a little greenery in the back right corner by the pool. And then once you get to about a third through the pool, then we're all out of the 100-foot buffer at that point. So down below in the woodland, there was some debris left by a tree company that will be removed and mitigation plants will be installed. And then the pavilion's footprint is 675 square feet. That's going to have its own mitigation of a 1-to-1 ratio that consists of some viburnum, cardinal flower, clethra, and other species that do well in that shady, wet environment.
It's already in.
Right.
It's already open.
It was built, half up in the buffer. Right. Well, that was my first question. How this thing got built in the first place?
So the new stuff is all gone. It's all in the buffer.
Is all in the
Right.
buffer, is all in the buffer, exactly.
100%.
Mhm. Yep.
Right.
Well, I think they're also talking about doing some work on the other side of the pool.
Well, the pavilion is.
No, but all he's described, I think, is the work that they're proposing in the buffer.
Right.
So
But there is other work. This project consists of other landscaping, et cetera, work on the other side of the property that's outside of the buffer, correct?
Correct. So we're renovating the existing patio, replacing the stairs with new stairs. It's all in not the best of shape. So we're just kind of reformatting the back patios at the back of the house. And then we're adding a small pathway around the existing pool, and then a pathway that will take you from the backyard to the front yard. Because right now it's just like a sloped lawn on that side.
Mhm. So just, I'm gonna throw a question out there, and I don't, property owner, I'm not sure how long you've owned the property, but how was this pool originally approved? Being halfway in the wetland buffer? Do we know?
I don't know the answer to that. I bought the house in, I think April 2018 is when we closed, and I moved up that summer, and the house had a pool. I mean, I have absolutely no idea. I knew nothing about it whatsoever. I don't even know what year the pool was built.
And you had a C of O for everything, right?
I mean, I think so. Yeah, it was all done with, whatever. I had a hope. What's it called? An inspector come out and look at everything. The real estate agent, the attorneys, they all looked it over. I mean, I'm not that knowledgeable about these things, but I can't imagine they had just gone rogue and done it, and that didn't get flagged to us.
So at this portion of the property, and I'm just giving my best, botanical version of Law and Order Criminal Intent with Vincent D'Onofrio, because I have to do this a lot. In that part of the property, the stream kind of starts to sort of move away, I would say, from these areas. So it's possible if somebody just measured the 100 feet from the stream edge. I can't remember that, Matt, from the prior plan, if that was the case, that the buffer, obviously the delineation pushed the buffer further into the pool proper. But
Yeah,
prior
Dennis-
to that, you guys just did, I remember the stream edge, and I know it certainly wasn't that far up.
Yeah, the 100 foot from the stream edge didn't even make it to the pavilion, actually. That was one of the lines we were keeping the pavilion out of.
Right, interesting. So that might answer part of
Wait,
that
so
question.
100 feet from this,
The
from the
brook,
stream.
From the
it's
brook.
not, it's shown on one of these, yes. So on the site plan, you see
If you measure from the stream.
You see the brook, so-
It doesn't even get to.
right. So that was the original plan that, Matt had showed me before applying for anything, and I guess.
Matt, what you were trying to share, I have it in my email. Do you want me to share my screen and pull back up the slides we're looking at? Would that be helpful for you or for them, or?
I don't know,
Maybe-
we've got the plans.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can just, I know it enough.
Okay. Okay.
So, and that's when, when we reached that area of, where it's just was like a landscape debris, et cetera. I said, and then there was some skunk cabbage on the other side, and it seemed kind of wet. And I said, I think there's a wetland here that obviously is connected in, hydrologic fashion to this brook, and, and that's when it got delineated, and I did see the flags, and I had no issue with the delineation, and that's what you're looking at now with respect to, that's where the buffer is relative to the delineation.
So do you think that this is an area that's changed since 2005 when the house was built? Or was the delineation not as carefully done back when the house was built, Dennis? What would you guess?
I would guess they may have just gone, frankly, with the brook edge, and there's a lot of the property that seems to pitch into that direction and corner, so I think it receives a fair amount of hydrology. Maybe it receives more since more has been constructed, but it's possible that I think there was always something there, but maybe someone didn't pick up on it depending on the season, because I could see where it could be potentially dry, or especially if you lose the skunk cabbage, maybe it doesn't trigger to someone that the area is potentially wetlands.
Mm-hmm.
But the brook, of course, everybody could notice that running water course.
Right. No, because the reason we bring it up is that this board's got a fairly uniform and strict policy against allowing pool structures in the buffer. And I can't imagine that if this area had been properly delineated and an application brought before us to put the pool where it is at the time that this ever would have been approved. So obviously to the extent that it exists, it's grandfathered, but we're pretty reluctant to approve any additional encroachments in the nature of significant structures in the buffer area. So was the design of the pavilion placed where it was before or after where you realized where the buffer line was?
It was done before, and it was based off of the side yard setback and the 100-foot line that was originally placed at this from the stream's edge.
From the brook, okay.
Yeah.
So then how did it get from here to here?
They actually went out and did a delineation, and the wetland obviously is wider than just that stream edge.
Okay.
Because of the wetland area.
Right,
Yeah.
there was soft,
That
the
wasn't
wet,
taken into consideration.
right, the wet areas or areas that don't immediately appear to be wetlands, but then because of the nature of the vegetation that's there
And soils.
and soils, it's clear that it's wetland.
How do you look at maybe just like pathways and the stairs and the replanting in the buffer, since this has been previously disturbed because it's all lawn from the pool down to the woodlands? Are those types of things a little easier to?
Sure, anything that's soft is looked at, a little bit more liberally than real structures are.
If the
And-
structure didn't have like a regular foundation and it was a deck, would that be less obtrusive and something?
Sure,
that-
I mean, if it was a deck, if it's a deck built on 4 piers, then obviously that's less of an incursion into the wetland, or the buffer area itself, than a structure with a full foundation is.
Yeah.
In order to do the footprint of the pavilion or the deck or whatever we want to call this, do you have to regrade that side of the property?
You really don't. It slopes naturally right now, and the slopes meet the foundation, and the foundation will step with the slope. So like the footings will step down with the slope. There will be some, minor grading because you have to dig out the footing and then backfill, but no major regrading of the slopes is necessary. Right now, it's a slope with boulders, just like a boulder rockery. And then there was a lot of overgrown shrubbery that got taken out to see what the robins were working with. And that's why the ornamental grasses were proposed. They're there to revegetate the slope and prevent erosion.
Only that I ask is on the cross section of the structure, there was looks like a pretty good cut taken out and a regrading to create
The way I looked at it, I thought it was just a frost footing. So the center would be just maybe backfilled with gravel, not like a solid foundation underneath the entire thing.
So I guess, and this is for the board's discussion, but I think the fundamental approach was really not applied here, right? In terms of the avoid, minimize, mitigate.
Correct.
Because now,
Correct.
so
Go back to step one.
there is no
alternatives
alternatives analysis.
That was gonna be my next question.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Which was once you discovered where the accurate buffer line is, was there consideration to move the pavilion somewhere else in the plan outside of the buffer?
Yeah, I talked to Danny, but we were up against the zoning setbacks too. And there's just not a really great logical place beyond where it is right now. It services the pool and then it gets really tight to the property lines if it was on the back side of the pool. And there would need to be a variance for setbacks for sure there. And then on the left side, it's just too far away. So it wouldn't get utilized. This did seem like a natural spot because the house and then the retaining wall that exists in the back left, once you add the pavilion and a little patio, it kind of creates a courtyard around the pool. So aesthetically it works out.
What's that area that's crosshatched?
That's a proposed paver pad. Why wouldn't you just put something to it?
Right, why couldn't you just put the pavilion where the paver patio is?
Is that in the center of the lawn?
Yes.
I guess that'd be up to Danny if he would want a pavilion right there in the middle where the crisscross patio is on the landscape plan. Is that what you're
I mean, you know, I obviously totally defer to the expertise of the board, you know, particularly with respect to wetlands and buffers and all that stuff. From just my own basic knowledge of these things architecturally or the layout, I should say, what we wanted to accomplish is at the moment, and you maybe saw some of the pictures, the backyard just does not have a lot of grass. It's got the patio in the pool and then kind of the forest. And so what we were trying to create was add a little bit of grass and space, which is the retaining wall Matt had said. And then adjacent to the pool is really this big opening, and it's really the perfect place. We thought it was far enough from the creek. If I took the pavilion and put it directly on the section you're talking about, it would literally be right outside my house. So the way we exit to the backyard is either through the doors for my family room, which is, it would be then walking directly into that, and or the door for my kitchen. So the view from my family room, instead of seeing like nice landscaping and some outdoor patio furniture, would just be, you know, 440 square foot little mini pavilion. It's an awkward place. It's also where at the moment all of the patio is supposed to go. So it obviously, if that's the only actual, you know, place we can go because of setbacks and proximity to the wetlands, I would have Matt draw a rendering and we can consider it, but it would probably be a deal breaker for me because I just think it would be a very unnatural place, like directly outside, you know, the back door.
Have you considered or applied for a zoning variance, which, you know, sometimes, you know, not sometimes, they do get issued. And if, you know, the consideration is to avoid wetlands, I mean, that seems to be a reasonable ask.
We didn't. We were trying to avoid a zoning variance. And I'm looking at my plan now and I see that there's a 60-foot setback that kind of cuts kind of really across the middle of that zigzag pattern patio in the center, right behind the bump out of the house. So we would have to go and ask for a variance there too. I think like another natural spot would be where we are proposing that retaining wall towards, like, if you take the pathway from the right side of the house and you go past the pool and we open it up in that spot, it'll be further away from the wetlands line. So instead of like a 63 foot to the pavilion, it would be more like 75, 80 feet. That feels like a natural spot for it too, but then it would require a zoning variance also for setbacks.
I'm sorry, I'm not following you. Where?
So if you look at right where on the landscape plan, I have the label 100-foot wetlands buffer, and then there's a lawn pocket there.
Yep.
That would be another nice spot for the pavilion, but it would require a zoning variance for setbacks. But it would be further away from the wetlands line than the current pavilion is proposed now.
But still within the
But
buffer.
still within the buffer.
Yes, it is, yeah.
Well, what about the area? And again, I don't have any topographical sense of the property. What about the area just outside the buffer line at the kind of the narrow round end of the pool? What's there?
So right now, it's a pretty steep slope there that goes up to the top of the property line, but it's just a slope. There's not any like valuable vegetation in that location right now.
It's a slope up to the
Up.
property line or down?
It goes up
It goes
and then
up.
the neighbors go even further up. Yeah.
What part are you talking about? I'm trying to just follow along.
So imagine you're in your living room and you look out
Yeah.
the windows across
Yeah.
the patio, and then the pavilion could be tucked into that slope there. So it would require a variance.
Basically past the far right corner of your new patio.
Okay. Yeah. Oh,
Kind
yeah.
of
So, yeah.
The narrow
Yeah.
end of the pool.
Yeah, I understand. By the way, from a location standpoint, that's fine. Wouldn't that be, I thought that was an issue though with respect to setbacks or no?
It is. We would
Okay.
have to go to the zoning board and get a relief for setback.
But maybe that's a easier variance to get than proximity to wetlands. Is that kind of what the board suggesting?
If you look at batting averages, that's a yes.
And Matt, is that, it's definitely a little sloped and there's just not that much space there as it relates to this sort of, fence that divides the neighbor. Would there be enough room to make that possible?
Maybe you would step up a
Was it
couple
that big? I
steps
thought it was
up
like
to
16
it,
by 18.
No, it's big.
or there would just be a wall in the back of the pavilion to retain the grade.
24, 25. I think there's always a sketch down.
Yeah, that's the other reason,
No.
not just like.
And maybe it could be scaled down a little bit too.
Yeah, well, I would say this, I was under the impression, Matt, that it was actually only 440 square feet. It's designed to be like a pretty modest, small thing. There's not even 4 walls. The walls are open. It's really 4 posts with a small little roof. It almost looks like a small garage, and it's meant to be open, airy, simple. There's no bathroom. It's just really meant to have additional seating with some, shade. It's not meant to be this whole, big thing.
The floor, yeah, you're right. The floor plan is modest. There's a pretty big overhang though, and I had to mitigate based on the roof's square footage, not the floor area.
Okay. Yeah. I'm no expert at these things, so I wasn't.
You're looking at the roof line. The floor area
It's the
is what I
30-inch
saw, 16 by
overhang.
18, 400 square feet. 20.
Maybe that's part of the presentation that you've taken a look at that consideration as along with the setback variance request of whatever it is you'll, possibly consider.
Who would handle a variance request? It's obviously not the ERB. It's a different committee.
Yeah.
We have to go to the zoning board.
Zoning board.
Zoning,
Yeah.
ZBA.
Yep, zoning board of appeals, and you would be in touch with Tom DePaul, the building
Can't they go
inspector.
talk to Tom first?
Okay.
Some people do that, yeah.
You can go to Tom first without actually doing an application and just
Okay.
do a private meeting with him, and he can give you his feelings about it.
Okay. The other question I had, and it's been a little confusing, is I understand it. I think we have technically 2 separate permits that we applied for. One of them was for the broader project that Matt and his team are working on, and the second one was specifically with respect to the pavilion. And Daisy had sent me, documents to that effect, that there are 2 different ones. So is it possible that we can actually get permits for the rest of the project and Matt and team can start hardscaping and doing things, even if the pavilion's on hold? Or is everything held up because of that?
It depends on, I guess, what else is, I mean, you're doing some grading here as well. Well, I believe, which, I should take a step back. So one of the things that I was discussing with the board was that obviously, you're bouncing back between multiple drawings and we're just trying to, corral all of this. And then I guess it was last week, Thursday or Friday, when the 2 letters went out, I said to Tom, I said, why is there 2 applications? Could you recall like what exactly you applied for in terms of what boxes you checked on the 2 building permit applications?
So Scenic Landscaping, the company I represent, we were seeking permits for the outdoor kitchen, patios and walkways, and the retaining wall and the steps. The pavilion will be done by a builder or general contractor that is outside of our skill set. We stick to landscaping and patios and stairs and all.
Okay, so I mean, but some of this retaining wall though is in the buffer, right?
Right.
It
So
is,
that's-
yes.
So it is, so even if you wanted to, if you removed an element and then the rest of the project was out of the wetlands buffer, then I could answer yes to that question. But if that's not the case, then the answer is no. And to that point, one of the things that I caught my eye was I wouldn't be comfortable with, picking up all the stormwater and just throwing the surface discharge on a stone apron in the wetlands buffer. I would either want to move that out of the buffer technically, or if you're gonna have it in the buffer, I know we spoke, Matt, about putting in some sort of dry well just to pick up the back filter from the pool.
Yep.
Because it just discharges right near the wetland over there.
Yep.
That's a consideration as well. If you want to, try to bury some of the stormwater in that, if it could accommodate it, that to me is a better approach, from just the water quality perspective to the wetland.
Okay.
I mean,
And it would seem that the overall plan would be the one developed by you, or Gary is your name?
Matt?
Matt. And then once you come up with an overall conceptual or site plan that deals with the setbacks, that deals with the wetland buffer issues, then I would think you could get the architect for the pavilion to come in and design your building to fit on that footprint that is the part of the overall site plan. But I think at some point it's going to have to be melded into one overall application.
Okay. So the
with
pathways,
one part without the holistic plan, I think would be a challenge if you ran into a problem to get started with parts and pieces of this without.
By the way, I think we're not at all against having one permit. I felt that we were getting, frankly, confused and tripped up ourselves on what the best process was. And for whatever reason, however it all happened, we were under the impression that we were supposed to be doing 2 separate applications. And so maybe that created a problem, and obviously we want to make it as seamless and streamlined as possible. So maybe
That could still be, by the way, not to interrupt you, but again, I'm not the building inspector and I don't take those applications. So however that was filed, if that maybe was discussed with Tom, you guys can verify that.
Yeah. Okay. So I think Matt and I will reach out to Tom and have a follow-up conversation with him for guidance on the best path forward. And then it seems, if I guess the main question I have is, to the extent we cannot find a other solution of where the pavilion can go, is it worth going through the exercise of trying to see if we can get it approved in its current location, or it's going to be a hard no because it's too close to the buffer?
Well, it's in the buffer.
Sorry, because it's too close to wetlands and within the buffer is what I meant. I just,
Right.
and I don't want to waste anyone's
Yeah.
time, certainly your time or our time. So I
Like,
just trying to
do whatever you can to keep it, get it out of the buffer. I think that's the advice. I mean, don't come back, I think you don't want to come back here and have it be a little bit in. I just think you try to get it out because, right?
Right. It just seems to us, I mean, this is not a constrained site. You've got a lot of land here. And it seems that there should be a way.
There's other options.
Yeah, there should be a way to find a location for the building that works for you aesthetically, that would be okay with the zoning board in terms of a setback variance, and still keeps it out of the buffer. You know, I mean, there are other aspects of the plan that involve work in the buffer. And I don't
Yeah, I
want to.
think we would like
I don't want
feedback.
to. I don't want to shortchange. I don't want to shortchange those. I mean, the idea of changing natural landscaping to lawn within the buffer is not something that's encouraged either. So, you know, there still will have to be. I think, you know, even if you get the pavilion out of the buffer, you're still going to want to, in addition to Tom, you know, continue your dialogue with Dennis over the remaining impacts that you're proposing in the buffer. Those would be an easier lift than trying to put the pavilion there, but they still require some, you know, some significant consideration and planning with Dennis.
But just to clarify, no native or like wetland vegetation is being removed as part of this project that kind of circles you around the right side of the house. That's right now it's like hydrangeas and lawn currently. So that was just being upgraded with more ornamental plants.
I thought I'd heard at some point you were saying you wanted to create more lawn.
No, it's already lawn. So it's already disturbed buffer to begin with. And what we're doing is we're taking lawn and planting it. And the limits of the lawn will not change. Like the woodland edge will remain the way it is. The lawn just slopes from the pool area down to the woods. And then, so like that natural state will go unchanged other than the addition of some ornamental plants that are close to the house and on the slope that is currently lawn.
All right, so all the area on the planting plan that is designated as lawn within the buffer is already lawn?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. So Dennis will still be your man to consult on the planting plan and on the whatever additional or mitigation ends up being necessary.
Okay.
Okay, so I think you guys
Okay.
gave us some good homework assignments, and we'll talk to Tom and Dennis and kind of come back with some updated ideas as soon as we can.
That'd be great.
All right, thank you
Okay,
guys.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thanks.
Right.
Next.
Even I knew that.
You know, the other thing
You
is,
said that like a pro.
Yeah, right. I learned something.
you know, like as you pointed out too, is like we have to consider, okay, this may be grandfathered, but it's almost like a mini cumulative impact analysis. It's like just because a pool is grandfathered, it doesn't fall out of the discussion or evaluation of impacts, you know, because.
Well, I wasn't talking about the pool per se,
Right,
but what else, but what other work is being proposed?
right.
So, okay. Home stretch. Looking at,
5 minutes.
Schneidman, 43 Kitchell Road.
Do you want me to, I could grab an easel, take all of 2
Yeah,
minutes?
so you had boards.
Yeah, well, I have this board. It's the same
Okay.
as what you have. It's,
Okay, I just figured maybe for the benefit of the.
Is there anybody watching?
I don't know. Maybe they want to watch the tape. though.
Gary's iPhones.
Yeah, I'm having a lot of problems, but I'm trying to watch and listen.
Is that the owner?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
I heard there was a problem with up them in town.
Today it was out for a couple of, at least an hour.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, gosh.
at least an hour or two.
Mine wasn't. I'm lucky. Thank God.
You can always
No,
hold
I'm,
this. I do this at other meetings, so. Just hold the board.
I'm
Maybe we used to do it in the
traveling.
old days.
I'm traveling across Pennsylvania, so that's why I'm having all this problem.
We hear you fine.
Okay, thanks.
Just use these Saturday community days, this one, so you should.
Let's see.
More greater around, but I'm giving it a workshop.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. Good, Griffey from G Associates. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're adding a couple of additions to the home. One on the left side, which is in the buffer, and the other one is the back of the house, which is actually out of the buffer. It's just a proposed roof deck over here. So on the left side of the house, this is the buffer setback. So
From which, I'm sorry, from which direction? From the.
on the left
Got
side,
it.
you see that
Got it.
line, the brook is over here, this is the setback line.
Got it, okay.
Okay, so a good portion of the house is already in the buffer.
Right, and the house
So-
was built when? Like in the
I think it was
fifties?
in the 50s, I think it was 1950s.
Right, so well before the wetland ordinance.
Yeah.
Uh,
So,
in 1957.
Okay.
Okay, so, so we're.
And so
right-
we're well out of the buffer for the
For this-
wetlands in the backyard.
Oh, well, there's another buffer over here.
I see limited wetlands there.
Yeah, right. it's
So
just
there
way
would,
back
there
there.
would be 100-foot line.
Right, from here would probably be, around here, so, yeah, so everything else is added. Okay, so we're renovating the master bedroom and adding a closets and a master bathroom to the left-hand side over here. We're lining up with the existing house here and then kicking it back a little bit and then adding this addition here. It's about 424 square
Sorry,
feet.
just to,
Sure.
only because of the last conversation. Line of 100-foot setback from water course
Yeah, the brook.
Right, now,
versus wet.
right, now this is a different situation, because this is a narrow V cut, so I walked that and I accept the
You're in
measurement from the
agreement, fine.
water course on this, yeah, it's definitely a
Because
different
there's-
condition. Yep,
There's no wetland vegetation upland of the
it's
stream itself.
like when you get to the toe of slope, I mean, it's a question of, during low flows, high flows, it basically, to me, the edge that you would be able to pick up on that topo, it would really come out to the same as to where that we measure for the 100-foot buffer, so
Correct.
it's a different situation for certain than one Allison Lane, yep.
Okay, sorry, Mr.
Okay. So like I said, we're building back here on the left-hand portion of the house. Let's see if I can put this up. Okay. So that's the front of the house. So this is the existing house here. So we're lining up here and we're kicking it back a little bit. But this is the proposed addition right on this side. From the left-hand side of the house, this is existing, so this is the part that we're building out in the back, and this is on the other side of the buffer. This is that raised.
That's existing?
this, this is existing, this part of the deck, but we're adding this deck.
This
with
is
a
the
roof.
shaded.
Yeah, that shaded area back there, which is well out of the
buffer.
out of the
Right.
buffer, so well, in the back, but. Again, so this is the part that's in the buffer, this is from the rear, this is what you see from the rear. And that's that portion that's out of the buffer, that's that raised deck, this is an existing deck that goes up to that. On the right side, you really can't see.
The driveway goes up and comes back, the garage is accessed from the back?
Yes, this is the back, it goes around the house.
Gotcha.
Okay, so this is the existing floor plan, that's the wood deck in the back where we're gonna be adding back here. This is the master bedroom where we're gonna be popping out and adding an addition on that side. This is just the demolition plan, so you can see everything that's coming out here. This is the foundation plan, so not showing much, but this is the footprint of the addition. You try to see it better on the floor plan here. So again, this is the public out of the addition of the wetlands, rather than you come up this raised platform deck over here. So like I said, this is the existing house, so we're pushing out a little bit here, bumping out, bumping back, and then coming out at 14.5 feet. Existing bedroom pretty much stays intact. You come in, a little vestibule, we have 2 walk-in closets and a master bathroom. And then we're renovating the whole bath over here.
That's new or that's
all.
existing?
This,
It's the hall bath.
well, there was something here, but it's.
It'll be larger.
It's, yeah.
Okay.
it's gonna change.
Part of the expansion is in
Right,
there.
right, so this is all room. And there's other work being done inside, but nothing that really affects anything, like cosmetic work in there. And it's a story and a half. The second floor, that's the existing second floor, over that roof, we're just adding a new bathroom for this bedroom. So this gets that's under the roof. You don't really see it much from, you don't really see it from the outside. That's pretty much the extent of what we're doing. Any questions?
You're doing a Coltex?
Coltex, yeah. Yeah. Change.
For the new
For the new
addition?
So just so that you guys know, when I pointed this out to the town engineer and the building inspector, you guys are probably gonna need like a letter of no objection from the county because this slopes downward to your septic field and having the Caltech, you're gonna need, we're not the county, but it's just something that we're gonna wanna have no objection to because of, not only is there a distance separation, but and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but the town engineer was telling me that there's also consideration for slope and topography such that from an overflow perspective, if potentially stormwater could flow down towards this septic,
Is the septic in
county,
front?
yes. It's kind of between the pool and where they're proposing
No,
the
it's in the back.
cul-de-sac.
Oh, it's in the
I'm
back.
sorry.
It's in the back.
It's in the back.
So where's the Coltech?
No, the proposed one is here, and then these are the septic fields, and this is the pool, and it kind of slopes down, so that's why.
Right, the house is sort of burnt up and then it
Right,
slopes in both
right.
directions.
So I'm not saying that you necessarily can't put it there, but we're gonna wanna see verification that the county has no objection to that.
Okay.
Just give you that advance, more,
Good luck getting in touch.
right. It's, we're a lot more responsive here in the town.
What's in the side of the addition, what's there now, just grass?
Yes. Yeah, support of this. You might have a little bit more file. Might be active.
Make money? I hope so. I did. I go to Penny Dock and Limo. Is that what that is?
So this is where
Before I had
it's,
asked.
this is the left side of the house where it's being built, so there's some shrubs here, but there's mainly just grass over here.
Right, so it's an existing.
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, so, you know, we're not taking down the trees or well under. Square footages and coverage.
So what did you say, talking about 400 square feet of
This
disturbance or?
yes, this itself is 424 square. Yeah.
Have you seen a mitigation plan?
So I was gonna say, so what are you proposing in the way of mitigation for that?
As far as what? We want.
There's disturbance in the wetland, it's gotta be offset by mitigation. This area 1-to-1?
Yes. If, you know, just to offer, so there was an application in July of 2020 from the neighbor. It might have been sold since, his name was Correct, I think, who was the owner. And although they didn't have a proposed structure, but they were still doing work that required mitigation, and there was a mitigation plan that was submitted as part of that project. And I know that there was a focus on the sort of, we'll say, stream edge riparian corridor that, you know, seemed to, from design perspective at least, work well. And I'm bringing that up because I know from walking the property, and I know where the septic is, and you got a pool, and you're gonna have potentially limited opportunity. You already have forest cover. Unfortunately, it's a lot of beaches. I don't think they're gonna make it. The way things are going with the beaches, you definitely have signs of leaf disease infestation. So, you know, I would hate to kind of, I think what I was describing to a couple applicants ago, I'm not looking to necessarily implement anything in an area where the trees may then potentially die, and now, you know, are we worrying about tromping on or impacting a mitigation planting strategy that, you know, has to potentially remove dead trees for obvious reasons because of safety. So I just offer that as a as an option that was, you know, again, for this particular brook, just on the other side of the, you know, stream edge and bank, that there was, you know, plans there that were ultimately accepted and installed for that project. But you're gonna have to do something.
So he could look at that mitigation plan to get an idea of what.
Area, approach, you know, what, you know, species and trophic levels of consideration to install. That would be my, and if you need me to, I'll probably, I could find it for you and email the link to Mark as to, you know, what
It's
that
probably
plan
in
was.
the
That I will do. It's certainly on our posting as part of past ERB
Now, is that,
applications.
you need that by like a landscape architect, or
I
is it something that?
I don't require, there's a number of different disciplines that, you know, could
Well,
design.
I guess if when you show
Yeah.
me it, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I've had the engineer, to be fair, you know, ask me that question, like, you know, obviously if somebody's gonna design a wall that becomes a retaining wall, they wanna see a PE or registered landscape architect. So they asked me, if someone's doing a wetland mitigation plan, does it have to be a registered? I said, no, it could be a wetland scientist. There are, organic plant designers, there's horticulturists, there's a whole, suite of people that, know stuff about plants, as long as they have concepts of wetlands,
Okay, but you're gonna need somebody that can explain that,
Somebody
not
in the
like,
nursery.
we're not gonna, an architect, I wouldn't be able to explain that plan.
Right,
So
right,
you-
right.
So you probably, okay, so
Right,
we
the
need-
produce market person is probably not gonna be able to, even though they may
Okay.
know, right, fruits, exactly, so,
Okay.
yeah, you got it.
Okay,
And I'll make a note to email that to you. I think that's 49 Kitchell, the neighbor, right? Okay. 49 Kitchell. Mitigation.
Just to let you know, they sold the house. They moved the ones who did the work. There's new neighbors there.
Right, I think I recalled that, somebody had mentioned that to me, or I saw the sign or something to that effect, yes. In fact, if you look down, I think some of the pink flags that they're delineated tied, I thought I saw, they might have even still seen some of them or something to that effect.
so other than that, is there any questions or? you okay with
I don't know, any questions, any?
that?
Concerns? No, I think the only thing is, it's coming up with an appropriate mitigation plan, and, I think we could be on our way.
Okay,
So,
sounds good.
talk to
Do you know when
Dennis,
this-
he'll
do you know
give you
when
the
next-
information, and, maybe you can get, something together and come back for the next meeting.
You know when the next meeting is, by any chance?
Third Monday in
Third Monday in
October,
October, we're scheduled.
yeah.
Okay,
I don't think I have any submissions yet, but it's, certainly not at the deadline yet, so, yeah, it's scheduled.
very good.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Have to use an easel.
Good. Anything else, Dennis?
On Saturday, we unveiled the draft natural resources plan as part of satisfying community outreach piece for the New York State DEC Consumer Restoration Program grant application. I'm gonna write a little blurb for the newsletter and release the draft to be electronically available on Wednesday, and I guess we'll probably have a 2 to 3 week comment period where people want to review and provide comments. I guess that should be addressed to me. And then the hope is to finalize the document, and then the consultant actually came. They drove the 9.5 hours from Ohio. Got to meet Dr. Nick Smeek, and he was very good. I thought we formed a nice combination, and Karen Anthony, chair of the conservation board, was with us as well, so that was, we were at the town table, so we got to engage. We had a bunch of the, about 6 or 7 of the figures enlarged on 24 by 36 and on boards and easels, so people were coming over to check out the figures and, what does this mean for forest cover? What does it mean for impaired waters? I think it's, I got to review the document a few times. I'm gonna go through it one more time. I think for the price, it came out very, very good. So I was happy about that. Now everybody has a chance to, will have a chance to review it very soon, if they wish.
Good. Anything else on, any of the present past applications?
The only thing I noted was, which I think I forewarned at the ERB meeting over the summer for 16 Glen Terrace. I don't think they have a DEC wetlands permit yet. I'm not saying they won't get one, but I did kind of mention that, I hope that the DEC is as accommodating and turns you around as quickly as we did, but I had a feeling that wouldn't have been the case. In fact, I think it was a few weeks ago, they got a notice of complete application, basically meaning that, okay, now
Now
we can
look at
review
it.
it,
right.
exactly,
Right.
so. Yeah,
Okay.
it's about that.
What's doing with Seven Bridges? And Alden or,
Yes, I think they have they're scheduling a pre-application for planning board with us because of the area that is part of that, beyond the clearing and grading limit line, which I think basically looking at the plantings, I'm sure that was violated once already, because I can't imagine that's what it looked like in 1989. That was, I guess, declared, so.
So the strategy there is to keep it two separate lots?
Yeah,
Still?
I think they're going with a double ask of wanting to do that, but also wanting to maybe amend or abolish that line. And I know I think the landscape architect had done some overlays and some measurements, so all of the trees that they were considering, not all of them fall within that area, but certainly the ones that do, it's, I had an issue because the application came in for everything. I was advised by town council to issue a denial of the tree permit and then to proceed in this segmented fashion, in essence. Yeah. So here's where segmentation is going to apply, possibly.
And they worked out their thing with the neighbors of what trees were to be cut down and the concern of.
I think on the one side, there were no trees proposed for removal, so that's still,
So
I
that
think, in
went
play,
away.
yeah.
okay. Good. All right. If there's nothing else, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you.